All right, let's dive into one of the most legendary survival stories ever told, Daniel Defoe's classic, Robinson Crusoe. It's a truly epic tale about rebellion, a crazy shipwreck, and what a person is truly capable of when they're pushed to the absolute limit.
But seriously, just take a second and think about that. What would you do? No phone, no friends, no society. Everything you take for granted is just gone. That's the exact situation at the very heart of the story we're about to get into. So, our story kicks off with a young guy named Robinson Crusoe. He was born into a pretty comfortable life. His whole future was basically planned out for him. But that just wasn't what he wanted. And this is really the central conflict that starts everything. On one side, you've got his dad, who's begging him to just embrace the middle state, a safe, simple life, no big risks, no big worries. But Crusoe, he's got this burning desire for adventure, for the thrill of the sea, and yeah, for getting rich. So at 19, he completely ignores his dad's warnings and just runs away from home to become a sailor. And almost immediately, it's like his father's worst nightmares come true. It is just one disaster after another. A huge storm nearly sinks his very first ship. On his next voyage, he's captured by pirates and is enslaved for 2 years. After he finally escapes, he lands in Brazil and actually becomes a successful plantation owner. You'd think he'd have learned his lesson by then, right? But nope. That ambition pushes him to go on one last fateful voyage, an illegal trip to get more enslaved people for his plantation. And this decision, this one trip, changes absolutely everything. His ship gets caught in a terrible storm and is smashed to pieces off the coast of some unknown island. And this is where the real story begins. 1. That's how many people survived the wreck. Just him. Imagine that. As far as the eye can see, in every direction, he is the only human being alive. The isolation must have been just overwhelming. But he doesn't just despair. Crusoe is, if anything, a practical guy. Before the shipwreck sinks for good, he builds a little raft and goes back and forth, again and again, saving everything he can: tools, food, weapons, gunpowder. He then immediately gets to work, building a fortified shelter, figuring out how to hunt, and even starting a journal to keep track of the time, and honestly, to keep himself sane. He starts building order out of total chaos. So pretty quickly, Crusoe's story stops being just about day-to-day survival. He actually starts to master his new environment. He begins to change the island, and in the process, the island starts to change him. Just look at what he accomplishes. He's not just gathering food, he's farming, planting the barley and rice he saved from the ship. He's not just hunting for dinner, he domesticates a whole herd of goats for a steady supply of meat and milk. The man teaches himself how to make pottery, how to bake bread. He even builds himself a second home, a country house. He's literally, piece by piece, rebuilding civilization all by himself. Now, while all this is happening on the outside, there's a huge journey happening on the inside, too. Crusoe starts thinking, really thinking, about the idea of providence. This notion that maybe his being here, all of his struggles, isn't just random chance, but part of some kind of divine plan. After he gets really sick, he starts reading a Bible he managed to salvage from the ship. And this sparks this incredible spiritual awakening. He starts to see his loneliness not just as a punishment for disobeying his father, but also as a kind of mercy, a chance to repent and find his faith. In a very real way, his newfound faith becomes his only companion. So, for 15 years, this is his life: order, hard work, and prayer. Then one day, walking on the beach, he sees this: a single human footprint in the sand that doesn't belong to him. And in an instant, all the peace and order he's built is just shattered. He is terrified because he knows, without a doubt, he's not alone anymore. That one discovery throws Crusoe right back into a state of fear, but it also kicks off the next major chapter of his story. His time in total solitude is about to end, in a very dramatic way. Crusoe eventually finds out that the island is visited every now and then by indigenous groups from the mainland. And he's horrified to discover they practice cannibalism. One day, he's watching as they're about to kill a prisoner, and, on pure impulse, Crusoe attacks them and rescues the young man. He names him Friday after the day he saved his life. And this relationship just changes everything. Friday becomes this incredibly loyal friend, and for the first time in over 2 decades, Crusoe has another person to talk to. Now, their dynamic is definitely a product of its time. Crusoe sees himself as the master, he teaches Friday English, he converts him to Christianity. But their bond finally ends that crushing, absolute loneliness. They live together for several years, and then, out of the blue, an English ship appears. But of course, there's a problem. The crew has mutinied, and they're planning to leave their captain stranded on the island. Crusoe and Friday see their chance. They help the captain fight the mutineers and take back control of the ship. And as a reward, the captain offers them a ride all the way back to England. So after almost 30 years, Robinson Crusoe, the kid who ran away from home to find his fortune, is finally going home. Just let that number sink in for a moment. 28 years, 2 months, and 19 days. That's how long he was on that island. For many people, that's an entire lifetime. His ordeal was over. He gets back to England, to a world that's completely moved on without him. His parents are gone. Everyone just assumed he was dead. But here's the final, incredible twist of irony. He finds out that his plantation in Brazil was managed really well in his absence, and it's made him an extremely wealthy man. The very riches he risked everything for had just been sitting there, waiting for him the whole time. So when you look back at the whole story, it's about so much more than just a guy stuck on an island. It explores these huge themes, the incredible power of human survival and ingenuity, the journey of finding faith when you have nothing left, and yeah, the complicated and frankly uncomfortable ideas of colonialism, both in how he masters the island and in his relationship with Friday. Which leaves us with a really big question to think about. How should we view Robinson Crusoe today? Is he the ultimate hero of self-reliance, a symbol of our ability to overcome anything? Or is he a pioneer of a colonial mindset, imposing his own values and his will on a world that wasn't his to take? It's that very question that keeps this 300-year-old story feeling so important and relevant today.